Plus, stormy conditions over the weekend caused damage locally and around the country.
And in sports, both the baseball and softball teams sweep their opponents. Newswatch starts right now. An Athens County grand jury indicted a Nelsonville former recreation director today on 2 counts of theft. Good evening, I'm Emma Dollimer.
And I'm Andre Knurls. David Ruby Schultz is accused of stealing intended support for Nelsonville youth baseball and softball leagues.
The alleged crimes took place last year while Schultz was employed as the city's recreation director and working with the organization Batting for Kids. In a statement released by the Athens County Prosecuting Attorney's Office, Schultz is accused of failing to deposit collected sales and fees and taking $2.5 grand from fundraising efforts. Prosecutor Blackburn said the constant vulnerability of funds designed to better our children's experience is disappointing and urged local organizations and government to set up checks and balances to reduce this risk. Schultz will be arraigned on Wednesday in Athens County Common Court of Pleas. A man is in custody after deputies found a large amount of drugs and firearms in Gallia County. A deputy responded to an individual passed out in a vehicle in a parking lot of a business in the Canagua area around 3:20 a.m. on Friday, finding what appeared to be a firearm and narcotics. Later, it was revealed the individual, identified as 23-year-old Corey A. Caldwell from Vinton County, had a large quantity of what is suspected to be methamphetamine and fentanyl in the vehicle. Caldwell is in the Gallia County Jail awaiting his court appearance. A law aimed at reducing distracted drivers goes into effect tomorrow in Ohio. Starting then, it will be illegal for a person to hold a cell phone or other electronic devices while driving. Drivers can still make phone calls and text while at a red light. According to the Ohio Highway Patrol, last year, distracted driving contributed to at least 31 fatal crashes and 258 crashes with serious injuries. Since 2017, distracted driving has contributed to nearly 94,000 crashes.
This law will clearly save lives. There's absolutely no doubt about it. It will spare many families the grief and the sorrow that unfortunately many of our families have suffered in the last few years because of distracted driving.
For the first 6 months after the law goes into effect, Ohio officers will issue warnings. Violations will be issued starting October 4th.
Early voting begins tomorrow under Ohio's new election law, and vote registration for the May 2nd primary closes today. For the first time this year, voters must show photo identification to vote in person, whether they're voting early or on election day. The law eliminates previously acceptable non-photo options, such as a utility bill, bank statement, government check, or paycheck. State-issued photo IDs will be available free of charge under the new laws beginning Friday. The law also eliminates voting on the Monday before Election Day and shortens the window for applying for and casting absentee ballots by mail. West Virginia lawmaker and state Democratic Party vice chair is leaving the state legislature to become executive director of the American Civil Liberties Union of West Virginia. Danielle Walker is West Virginia House of Delegates' only black woman, its first openly LGBTQ+ member, and the only one to talk publicly about having had an abortion. First elected in 2018, Walker says she is leaving electoral politics, but the same issues will drive her work at the nonpartisan ACLU. She starts her new role April 17th. The Pleasance Power Station along the Ohio River could be operated by Mon Power under a new proposal submitted to West Virginia state regulators. If the West Virginia Public Service Commission approves the plan, Mon Power would operate in Pleasance for 12 months beyond its planned shutdown at the end of next month. All categories of customers would pay roughly 2.2% more each month. Public comments on the proposal need to be submitted to the Commission no later than April 24th. If the plant closes then, its 150 employees will be let go July 15th. New federal regulations involving wastewater treatment and smog could challenge the ongoing operation of the plant and raise the costs to keeping it running. Now, here's a look at your first weather with Marissa.
So for the weather today, it started off very chilly this morning in the 40s. However, it has raised pretty significantly since then to a high of 72 degrees. It is currently 72 degrees outside right now. It is beautiful, sunny out right now. The clouds are kind of coming in and out. The wind is just very light, very breezy. Just a beautiful day outside today. However, we did see a couple of clouds kind of come in through that did bring in with the system of a couple of rain here. But that rain has cleared up since, and we are expected to have a very clear day for the rest of the night. Looking at the temperatures ahead, 72 degrees in Athens right now, very warm, 69 in Lancaster. So very nice temperatures all around. So that is all I have for my first weather. Now, Emma and Andre, with these extreme winds, many families have been dealing with property damage.
Right, insurance companies like State Farm have reported more calls around the area as it relates to damages around Athens, Ohio.
Yeah, and the damages include siding ripped off of roofs and trees falling on top of houses and shelters and patios, and that actually kind of has to do with our next story. Athens Athletic Director Eric Soltis had to move his family to the Hampton Inn after a tree fell on top of their house on Saturday due to extreme winds. Soltis does not know how long his family will have to stay there and says they will not be able to assess the property damage until they can get the tree off.
According to Schultes, aside from the tree leaning on the house, his family remained safe and there appeared to be little damage. When it first happened, Schultes had no idea what it was.
My wife and kids were in the kitchen table. They were collaring Easter eggs. I had just turned the Pirates and the Reds game on to watch some of the baseball game, and we just felt the house shake. And at first I thought, well, maybe it was thunder, and my wife looked out the back porch and she said, no, it's not thunder.
A tree fell onto a home in Leavittsburg, Ohio Saturday, killing a 13-year-old boy. Investigators say the victim was Brenton Hemberger. The Warren Township Fire Department called on several neighboring agencies to help free Hemberger from the home. A crane had to be brought in to move the large oak tree and other wreckage. It took 3 hours to get to him due to the instability of the structure. Counselors were available today at La Brea High School for grieving staff and students. Former President Donald Trump landed in New York City before his arraignment tomorrow.
We had a few raindrops today. However, for the rest of the week ahead, it'll be way more than a few. I will talk more about that in my full weather forecast.
And how to protect yourself this allergy season, these stories and more when Newswatch returns.
People ask, what was the American strategy? The Americans did not have a strategy for Afghanistan.
Drawing on years of reporting from both sides of the war.
You set off a car bomb, it's going to kill innocent civilians.
This was fighting.
It wasn't clear they had the patience or the understanding.
We asked an enormous amount of those on the ground in particular.
Missteps and miscalculations.
Why did we fail on our mission, and who was responsible?
Part 1 premieres Tuesday, April 4th, 10/9 Central, only on PBS.
On Secrets of the Dead, the ultimate Renaissance man.
Leonardo's science cannot be understood without his art.
But were his inventions really his?
Discovery recently suggests that there was another person who also drew a Vitruvian Man.
Leonardo is said to have invented the car, but it's not a car.
He's an opportunist in many ways.
Leonardo, the man who saved science, on Secrets of the Dead.
Wednesday at 10 on WOUB.
These adorable, seemingly passive fur balls are in fact the ultimate survivors. Within their bite-sized frame lies a fighter, able to outwit the many predators that surround them. From frozen forests to concrete jungles, we take you deep into their changing world. We'll reveal just how remarkable rabbits really are.
Wednesday at 8 on WOUB.
On episode 1 of La Frontera, the US-Mexico border has the most crossings of anywhere in the world. And on this episode, I'm going to the busiest place on the map, California and Baja California, where binational collaborations and the blending of cultures is an opportunity for explosive creativity and growth.
Monday at 9 on WOUB.
Former President Donald Trump is traveling from Florida aboard his private jet to meet with his legal team in Manhattan. Tomorrow morning, Trump will become the first former or sitting president to ever appear in court charged with a crime. Mike Valerio is in New York with more on the legal preparations and escalating citywide security measures.
Former President Donald Trump is expected to spend Monday evening back in Trump Tower, strategizing with his legal team ahead of Tuesday's voluntary surrender and arraignment.
He's taken into custody with his Secret Service detail in tow. He will be booked, so he'll be fingerprinted. He'll get a NICID number, which is the New York State tracker that shows you've been arrested and charged with a felony.
Trump's defense team is clear on its planned response.
We will very loudly and proudly say not guilty. I very much anticipate a motion to dismiss coming because there's no law that fits this.
And once the indictment is unsealed,
the team will look at every potential issue that we will be able to challenge, and we will challenge it.
On his media platform, Truth Social, overnight, Trump continued the drumbeat of the unproven claim that the case judge, quote, hates him.
What we have to do is actually let the process play out. This is the criminal justice system in America. When it's at its best, justice is blind. That's the aspiration here.
New York City leaders say there have been no specific credible security threats so far.
While there may be some rabble-rousers thinking about coming to our city tomorrow, our message is clear and simple. Control yourselves.
Violence and destruction are not part of legitimate, lawful expression, and it will never be tolerated in our city.
In New York, I'm Mike Valerio reporting.
The indictment is said to contain more than 30 counts related to business fraud, according to at least 2 sources familiar with the case. Trump's 2024 presidential campaign team says it raised more than $5 million in a fundraising effort within 48 hours after the indictment was announced, an effort that included a video plea by Trump himself, posted to Truth Social.
The Republican chairman of the House Intelligence Committee is expressing support for the Biden administration's efforts to free an American journalist being held in Russia. Russian authorities say Evan Gershkovich, a Wall Street Journal correspondent based in Moscow, is being detained for trying to obtain state secrets. Ohio Representative Mike Turner said the U.S. should keep trying to negotiate his release. He also said any Americans still in Russia should probably leave.
Certainly the Biden administration should continue its efforts to negotiate and to try to get the release of this journalist. But overall, people should be very cautious about staying in Russia.
The journalist based in Russia was detained Friday on charges of espionage. This is the first time an American journalist has been detained on such accusations by Moscow since the Cold War. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg called on Russia today for the immediate release of the journalist.
Second, I joined the United States in their call on Russia to release the American journalist Evan Gershkovich to ensure that his rights to work as a journalist are respected. His arrest is of concern. It is important to respect freedom of the press, the rights of journalists, and the rights to ask questions and to do their job. So therefore we call on his immediate release.
Nashville police on the March 27th Covenant school shooting. Writings from the shooter identify the mass murder was planned for months. Investigators say she documented her plans. Journals were found in her vehicle in the school parking lot and her home bedroom. Audrey Hill acted alone, and the motive for her actions has not been established. The case remains under investigation, but it's known that Hale considered the actions of other mass murderers.
At least 32 people are dead as brutal storms move across the U.S. President Joe Biden is promising help from the federal government, while forecasters are warning the severe weather is not over yet. Amy Kiley has the latest.
Dangerous weather continues moving across the U.S., leaving behind a trail of destruction and death. This video shows hail falling near Dallas, Today, that storm system pushing through Louisiana.
This is just an unbelievably tragic moment for our state.
At least 5 people are dead after a twister hit Arkansas over the weekend.
We have activated the National Guard in the hardest hit areas of the state.
Just across the state line, Tennessee reports at least 15 deaths, with one in Alabama and another in Mississippi. The weather isn't sparing the north either.
3 individuals have lost their lives in the tornadoes that came through Crawford County.
Illinois communities are reeling from tornadoes. At least 5 people are dead due to severe weather in Indiana, with another fatality in Delaware. Now, a snowstorm is moving across northern states, and it could bring a spring blizzard to South Dakota.
If anybody has learned a lesson, it is that when those alerts come in, we need to take them seriously.
I'm Amy Kiley reporting.
We're going to send it right over to Marissa with the look at your full weather.
Thank you, Audrey. So for today, we actually started off pretty chilly this morning. High about 40 degrees, or a low. We had a temperature of 40 degrees this morning. However, that rose pretty quickly throughout the day to a high of 73 degrees outside. So it is just beautiful. It is really, really nice outside today. It was sunny for the most part. We did see a few showers come through here. You can see here that we had the showers kind of come through here, but those have cleared up since, and we are expected to have a pretty clear night ahead of us. And this kind of just shows us here how we had that coverage, and that has since gone eastwards away from us for today. Looking at tonight, we have an overnight low of 49 degrees outside, so quite a bit chillier than what it is right now, with partly cloudy skies as well. Tomorrow, though, it warms up to a high of 77 degrees outside, so very warm. But with that does come a 20% chance possibility of some thunderstorms tomorrow. Tomorrow's night low will be about 61 degrees. What's happening tomorrow, there's a whole mess happening, all these systems. We are expecting mostly rain with this association, but there is still that chance of some thunderstorms happening. If we look at the severe outlook right now, most of the severe outlook is out west where those storms had hit the previous days. We are only in the slight here. However, on Wednesday, that kind of moves over to us, and that is where we have the highest risk of any thunderstorms happening for us in severe weather. Looking at Thursday, we have a cold front coming through that is going to bring a drop in temperatures and some rain as well. So it is going to be very rainy these next few days here. Chance of thunderstorms tomorrow and Wednesday. A high of 85 degrees on Wednesday. Very hot that day. High, and then on Thursday, we have a high of 60 degrees and then a low of 36. For the rest of the week here, it does kind of dry out starting on Friday for your weekend. 60 degrees as the high on Friday. On Saturday, a high of 64. Those overnight low temperatures, though, are really chilly, though. Low of 35 and a low of 39. Your Easter Sunday outlook is looking very nice here, almost 70 degrees on Sunday and a low of 40 degrees. And then Monday, those chances of showers do start back up again with the 40% chance of showers and a high of 67 with a low of 46. That is all I have for my full weather. Now to Emma with your next story.
Thank you, Marissa. Now that spring has finally come, pollen season is in full swing with nature's annual dusting of yellow-green powder. Robert Castillo reports on what people can do to minimize pollen's impact on you.
Pollen is often seen on vehicles as a yellowish powder, and it moves from plant to plant by wind and animals. Its purpose is to fertilize plants, but this can be bad news for those who live with seasonal allergies. Specialists say different pollen appears at different times in the year.
Trees are pollinating now, all right, and they'll go until about the time grass starts greening up. So grass is a May-June allergy. Tree is a March, April, May allergy. Same thing happens in the fall, right around Labor Day. Guess what happens? Weeds and now grass again.
Dr. Forehand is an allergist, and he says symptoms from pollen allergies include sneezing, runny nose, and swelling.
Our respiratory tract is lined with inflammatory cells, immune cells, and if they recognize it as foreign, as an allergy, you react. Not everybody does that.
Dr. Forehand says it's important to identify the type of pollen affecting you so you can better prepare to defend yourself against it. He says knowledge is power, so people should monitor pollen counts, take their allergy pills, use nasal sprays, and he recommends getting allergy shots.
It may not cure you, or it may not control you, but if you get any relief at all, it'll make a difference. Because people with uncontrolled allergies can't sleep at night and they can't concentrate when they go to work during the day. So they really need to do something.
Dr. Forehand says if people aren't sure which medication they need for their allergies, they should talk with a doctor about it.
Coming up in sports, the Ohio baseball team and softball team both swept their opponents. This story and more when Newswatch returns. And if you want to follow us on social media, you can follow us on Twitter at Newswatch_WEB, on YouTube, WEBPBS, and on Instagram, Newswatch_WOUB.
These adorable, seemingly passive fur balls are in fact the ultimate survivors. Within their bite-sized frame lies a fighter, able to outwit the many predators that surround them. From frozen forests to concrete jungles, we take you deep into their changing world. We'll reveal just how remarkable rabbits really are.
Wednesday at 8 on WOUB.
Giant craters were spotted in Russia.
The frozen world of permafrost is melting.
The ground exploded,
releasing planet-warming gases.
There's a huge amount of methane and natural gas trapped in the permafrost.
What will it mean for our climate?
It's a scary wild card in the climate change story.
Could really affect everyone on Earth.
Arctic sinkholes on Nova.
Wednesday at 9 on WOUB.
People asked what was the American strategy. The Americans did not have a strategy for Afghanistan.
Drawing on years of reporting from both sides of the war.
You set off a car bomb, it's going to kill innocent civilians.
This was fighting.
It wasn't clear they had the patience or the understanding.
We asked an enormous amount of those on the ground in particular.
Missteps and miscalculations.
Why did we fail in our mission, and who was responsible?
Part 1 premieres Tuesday, April 4th, 10, 9 Central, only on PBS. On Secrets of the Dead, the ultimate Renaissance man.
Leonardo's science cannot be understood without his art.
But were his inventions really his?
Discovery recently suggests that there was another person who also drew a Vitruvian Man.
Leonardo is said to have invented the car, but it's not a car.
He's an opportunist in many ways.
Leonardo, the man who saved science, on Secrets of the Dead.
Wednesday at 10 on WOUB.
Welcome back, I'm Sully Beach. The Ohio softball team took on Ball State this weekend and swept the Cardinals, winning in a 3-game series. The Bobcats scored 8 runs in the bottom of the second inning, and their confidence would continue to show throughout the rest of the game, winning 13-3. Ohio would have to face the Cardinals the next day in a doubleheader, and they would win both of these games with scores of 10-2 and 4-2 in the final game. Here's what Emma Hoffner had to say about their 9-game win streak.
I think right now we just have a lot of confidence on the field and in the batter's box. We're doing a really good job at getting prepared for each pitcher each week. We know what pitch we want to see when we're in there, and I think all of us just have a lot of confidence in ourselves right now, and that's helping. As we get more wins, the confidence is building more and more.
Ohio softball now sits at the #1 spot in the MAC conference, with Western Michigan quite a ways behind with a record of 10-13. Buffalo sits at the #3 spot with a record of 10-19. But softball was not the only team on a roll over the weekend. The baseball team also won all 3 of their games against Eastern Michigan. Mother Nature was not too friendly on Saturday, as the weather was not in either team's favor. This did not faze the Eagles, however, as they would score 3 runs at the top of the 4th inning, but the Bobcats found an answer in the 7th inning with 4 runs, including a wild pitch by the Eagles that would result in a game-winning run by Gideon Ansel. Here's what Gideon had to say after the first game.
Secondary and kicked away. And he was just standing on the mound still when I hit third, so I was like, well, I might as well try and take home here because he's going to have to rush his throw. He's going to try to rush the tag, and it worked out in the end. And it was a pretty huge play. I was pretty excited.
And with those 3 wins, Ohio now stands at the #2 spot behind Western Michigan with a conference record of 8-4 and 10-14 overall. The Broncos stand on top with an overall record of 20-7. And guys, I was at that game, and to be honest, I was filming it, I was covering it. I had a hard time keeping the camera on the tripod. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't even know how they're playing in this. Like,
yeah, I bet. I mean, the weather has not been the best this weekend. I mean, I mostly stayed inside. Did you get outside?
I was outside on Saturday, I think it was, and I did feel like I was about to blow away.
Yeah.
So I'm tired of the wind.
Yes, me too.
All right, after the break, hear more about a sensory-friendly performance in Nelsonville. And stay tuned to WOUB. Here's a look at what's coming up tonight on your public television station.
People ask, what was the American strategy? The Americans did not have a strategy for Afghanistan.
Drawing on years of reporting from both sides of the war.
You set off a car bomb, it's going to kill innocent civilians.
This was fighting.
It wasn't clear they had the patience or the understanding.
We asked an enormous amount of those on the ground in particular.
Missteps and miscalculations.
Why did we fail on our mission, and who was responsible?
Part 1 premieres Tuesday, April 4th, 9 Central, only on PBS.
Giant craters were spotted in Russia.
The frozen world of permafrost is melting,
The ground exploded.
releasing planet-warming gases.
There's a huge amount of methane and natural gas trapped in the permafrost.
What will it mean for our climate?
It's a scary wild card in the climate change story.
Could really affect everyone on Earth.
Arctic sinkholes on Nova.
Wednesday at 9 on WOUB.
You are kidding me!
On Finding Your Roots, Billy Crudup.
These are the forces that shape our lives, you know?
Yeah. And Tamara Mowry.
You know when you always say, I got it from my mama?
A patriot helped settle a city.
How could this not have been passed down?
And an ancestor challenges the establishment.
He was a religious radical.
That's insane!
Plus, a DNA match.
Are you kidding me? Get out of here.
Finding Your Roots. New episode April 4th on PBS and the PBS app.
These adorable, seemingly passive furballs are in fact the ultimate survivors. Within their bite-sized frame lies a fighter, able to outwit the many predators that surround them. From frozen forests to concrete jungles, we take you deep into their changing world. We'll reveal just how remarkable rabbits really are.
Wednesday at 8 on WOUB.
Our final story tonight, the ABC players will be having a sensory-friendly performance for audiences who struggle with the traditional setup. Animal Tales is intended for those who need a more welcoming and comfortable arts experience. Songs, dances, and a short play will be presented without flashing bright lights or loud sudden sounds and an accommodating space at 30 Public Square in Nelsonville. There is no charge for admission to the shows on Saturday at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. Reservations are being taken now. Those interested can call 740-753-1924. Now, over to Marissa for a look at the final weather.
What started a beautiful day today, 71 degrees outside, is going to drop to an overnight low of 49 degrees tonight, so much chillier than what we were experiencing right now. Partly cloudy outside. Looking ahead, for tomorrow, it is going to be even warmer with a high of 77 degrees, and with that is a 20% chance of thunderstorms, and then an overnight low of 61 degrees tomorrow. So just an overall warmer day compared to today. Looking at the week ahead, Wednesday, 60% chance of showers, and along with that, we'll have a chance of some thunderstorms as well. A high of 85 that day. It's very, very warm, and then it dries up for your Easter weekend here, and that is all I have for the final weather.
Thanks, Marissa. Well, that does it for our broadcast this evening. Thanks for watching. I'm Aljan Rawls.
And I'm Emma Dollamere. Stay tuned for the PBS NewsHour coming up next. And remember, you can find the latest news anytime at WOUB.org. We leave you here tonight with a look outside of Ohio University. Have a great night.
Support comes from Goldsberry Wealth Strategies in Athens and Parkersburg, focusing on helping people achieve a life well lived with a custom strategy. Information at goldsberrywealth.com. Raymond James Financial Services Incorporated, member FINRA.